On today's 30-minute mechanic, we are going to start looking at marking where the main hoop for our roll cage goes. I've made a few preliminary marks, but we're going to start making our first cuts and see how that goes. So buckle up, let's go. All right. As you can see, I've made some marks on the floor here. Made a mark where the frame rail is. Basically, I measured over to the frame rail from the rocker. Then I measured from the rocker over, figured out where that was on that rib. Then marked me a straight line to approximate where the frame is, just so I have a good reference. You could pop that plug out right there and measure 2 5/8 over from the center of the body bolt, mount bolt, and then that would be the edge of your frame rail. But I decided this was easy enough and accurate enough for what I'm doing. Also, you'll see it says, I don't know if that is focusing very well, floor 2 inches above rail. So this part of the floor is 2 inches above the frame rail down there. Now, I considered, actually I had this brainchild last night. I considered taking my 2x3 tubing and just coming off, notching it, sit down on top of the frame and coming over for this. But since that's 2 inches above, and I need to be at least an inch above, at least an inch and a half, about an inch probably above the floor pan, that 2x3 would have to sit directly on top of the frame rail. And I don't want to just sit it on there and butt it down. I'd have to do some other gusseting on it. So I might as well just stick with my original plan of angling from here up and out like that. Up at an angle like that, to come over and create a pad for this bar to land on. So today we're going to mark out where our hole is probably going to be. I'm going to cut it big because I'll come back and weld it, trim it, and weld it back in where it needs to go. But I'll cut the hole a little bit big on both sides, over here and over there. And I have moved the bar forward 1 inch. The center line of the, see that mark right there? Center line of the main hoop is 19 inches off the back wall of the cab. And there's actually a hole, there's a 4-bolt flange underneath here that you can see over there. That main hoop thing is 4 inches from the center line of the nearest bolt hole. So once I get this piece of metal out of the way, I'll double check that and mark this better. But then that gives us where our main hoop, I better mark where it is relative this way. Yep, I better do that. That's one thing I need to do. Need to measure before I pull that out of there. Okay, I'm going to have to back up and preface these videos with a little disclaimer of sorts. This is only the second roll cage I've ever done, and I don't claim to be a professional, and I don't claim to be good at doing this. I'm just doing it the best that I know how. Following the things I've learned. So don't take my word as gospel. You may do things differently than I do. Okay, that right there is 46 7/8 center to center. There's got to be a better way to measure off this way. I need a, well, duh. Hello. We have a mark here. That would give us that's roughly 7 3/4. That's the same over here. 7 There's one like 7 5/8. There's got to be a. You know what I could do? I could come right off of that, and it's 3 inches on that side. 3 inches on that side. Okay, straight up 3 inches from there out is the center of our hoop. I mean, it doesn't have to be perfect because this is just getting us in the ballpark to cut a rectangle out of the floor. So we'll have a place to bring our 2x3 up through the floor. I mean, we're probably going to make it maybe a 6x6 square out of there, something like that. Well, doggies, look at that. Huh. If you're not using magnets and hooks to hold things in place, man, you are missing out. Because that is, what do I say, the bee's knees? That's the bee's knees. Okay, cut the main hoop out of here. And I'm going to move this big old heavy piece of steel. How thick is this? That's a good question. Oh, I got to vacuum all that out. Holy cow. That's 1 3/4. Let me go get my vacuum because that's terrible. Okay, time in. Smells like brake clean. Okay, we said 30 inches. That's going to be right in line with that screw. Let's see, 3 inches. I could get it kind of close with the. See where 3 inches hits over here. Just farther out than I thought. Right about there. Right. Double check. Works for me. Okay, and then which hole did we measure from? This one. Those the same? Yep. Came from the center of the nearest hole. Did I say 4? Straight up 4? Yep. Some double check, double check. Of course, 90s build quality being what it is. Yep, 4. Right there. '90s build quality and '80s build quality being what it is. You get stuff close. Cars are not built that precisely back then. Guys get all twisted off about, a 1/16 of an inch or an 1/8 of an inch here and there. And you know what? They're not built that good. Okay, we're just going to mark her. Well, I still got brake clean. Which one? That was either brake clean or sweat. It's probably sweat. Because I'm dripping sweat everywhere. Anyways, my marker won't write now. Great. There it goes. Main hoop CL. Okay, got this side marked. Now, this is partly, I don't know if you can see that. It's not flat over here, is what I'm thinking. I need to take these screws out and move this wire and this little plastic dude. And then we can look at what we're doing a little better. Why would the floor be flat where I need to do something? Of course not. Should have done this before I closed it. Bagged and tagged. Okay. That's better. This roll cage kit came with 6x6 steel plates. Really don't know why. Since this has a frame, it's going to be tied to the frame. I don't really know why they included the 6x6 plates. You would use these in a unibody car like a Fox Body Mustang. If you're putting something you can do with a cage too. Roll bar, you would weld, this plate would weld to the floor pan. And then you wouldn't have to do anything else, which to me seems kind of silly. I mean, if you can do it in a unibody car, why can't you do it in like this with a cab? I mean, if you're concerned about occupant safety. But whatever, I don't make the rules. Tape measure. I want to measure the center of this. That's not quite 6. Good gravy. Get us a center mark here. Is the center mark over here. And I'm going to use this for a template for what to cut, where to cut. And I'm just going to center my, I don't even need to center it. Do I? Well, maybe I do. Let's come off of that 2 3/4 up here, and that'll get us. Unless I get that's all the way over there. If I do that, don't want to do that. Let's pull this thing. Let's pull it off about 3/4 of an inch. There's a pinch weld. Like this pan is spot welded. Actually, let me double check something. There is a body support there somewhere. Yeah. Belt hole is oh yeah. Okay. We're going to want to bump it over even farther. About where's that? Which hole is that? There's 2 holes. Okay. There's a hole right there that they drilled. It's right on the edge. So that's 1 1/8. 1 inch in, basically. So let's move our. Is that going to be good enough? Yeah, that'll be great. Let's move our plate in. 1 inch and 1/8, and we'll draw us a rectangle around it. It's centered on the. I don't know why I'm getting so precise about this. I'm literally going to cut it out with a cutoff wheel. Dang, it just got dirt all over the tip of my Sharpie. Okay. That's the hole. That's the hole we're going to cut out. I don't know if you can see that or not. You probably can't because of how low you are. It's pretty warm out here. A lot of sweat. And so our 2x3 will mount and it will angle up. It doesn't even need to really be that big. It could probably be about half that size. But if I do it up here on the tops, if I make it too big, that's okay. And it's flat up here, flat up here, flat up here, flat mostly up here. That'll make putting it back in easier because I'll just be able to weld right around there. So let's see if we can find a. I'm going to be using my battery-powered grinder. I don't know how well that's going to work. We'll just find out. Probably wonder, why are you using the battery-powered one? Well, because my Harbor Freight one finally died. So we're going to see if this will work. And if this fails, I'll go borrow Jonathan's super monster grinder. All right. Our floor piece is, wow, I cut way, didn't realize I was doing that. Okay, there's our floor piece right there. Take that guy over there out of the way. Kind of did the same thing there with my Sawzall, but that's fine. Okay. We have our hole. We can see our frame. Let's move to the other side. Side 2. Okay, here we are. Magnet tag. Ow, dang, I just hit my funny bone and it was so not funny. Okay, now I'm going to try to keep this thing kind of clean while I'm working on stuff so that it's just not a huge, gigantic mess all the time. Okay, we moved that one, which worked really well. We could make this one shorter. Could back it up to 5 inches and then we wouldn't go through that piece right there. I think I'll do that. Why not? I mean, this is just a hole to poke stuff through. Let's see, 5. We came off 1 inch and 1/8, didn't we? Where's my Sharpie? Inch and 1/8. Inch and 1/8. And centered that way. That puts this line right there. That line comes across. Down the valley, back up the hill. Shove that over. And then this line. That right? Let's look. Yep. That'll put that 6 inches over. That little rib is like right here, so we'll miss the rib completely doing this. Now, that's a better move. I didn't really, the rib, I mean, it doesn't matter, whatever. It's all going to get put back together. So, but if I could skip the rib, skip cutting the rib, that's great. Okay, grinder. Figure out which way it's going to throw sparks. Throw them away from me that way. Ugh. Okay, let's do this one. Got a hole. Oh yeah, that's perfect. Perfected. It may have to, that little lip, it may have to have a notch in it, but that's okay. I'm trapped. I can't get out. Help. Oh. Okay. Got our holes cut. That's awesome. Kind of rabid raccoon this side, driver's side a little bit more than I wanted to, but whatever. We have a welder. We have the ability to put it back together. Okay. Got metal. Metal on my lips. And a darn near cut my, well, I still got them. Okay, yeah. I was going to say darn near cut my reference marks out, but I know the dimensions for everything. That's not a big deal. In fact, I'm just going to take this Sharpie, remark some stuff here. Doot. Go ahead and mark it on this side too. And then, what was that number 2 3/4? It was 3 off of. What's my tape measure? Tape. Never can find it. Stop it. Okay, that side's marked. Let's do the other side. All right, to make this a little more clear about what I'm doing, maybe I can use this little piece of 2x4. So what people would normally do is come off the frame rail like that with a kicker. And then their main hoop would sit on it. Of course, this would be all underneath down here. Eric. Since my main hoop is a little shorter than I would like because the cab on a extended cab is taller and the floor is lower where you're going to put the bar, so you got more height. So what I'm going to do is make my kickers. My kickers are going to come off the frame like this and come up through the floor just a hair, where the where the top of them, the top is right about here. It'll be a rectangle sticking up about a, I don't know, inch and a quarter above the floor. We'll get that part measured out. And of course it'll be beveled off flat. It'll be beveled off like that. It'll be about a 45-degree angle, about. Of course, this isn't as big as, this is only 1.5 inches, not 2 inches, but about the same width. But then that'll put my kickers being connected to the frame, my main hoop to the kickers, and of course everything will be welded down here on the frame itself. It's actually going to have a plate on the frame. The kicker will be welded to a plate that is actually going to be bolted and welded to the frame. It'll be bolted for temporary positioning, you know, get it where I want it kind of stuff, and then it'll be welded in place, kind of like I did with the Nanner pickup, where I bolted the frame together before I welded it. I used the bolts to hold everything in place that way. Didn't have to try to rely on clamps or anything like that. And that'll allow me to raise and lower the cage when I'm doing this. I can drop it down, weld the stuff up here, and then raise it back up and stick a bolt in, tighten it up, and then get everything positioned. But so main hoop is first. We got our holes cut. That's a good deal. Now I was just thinking, I'm gonna have to put another hole in this frame, because with your main hoop, back my camera out, your main hoop, and then your harness bar across, you know, from the harness bar main hoop connection, there's one bar that comes down at an angle. And in unibody cars, you'll run that to the transmission tunnel. And this, I'll probably run it to, I'll have to check and see if there's a distance that you have to be off of vertical, but harness bar is probably going to be right about here. And then we'll shoot it right down and hit the top of the frame with it. So we'll end up making another hole right over here for that guy to shoot through, and then we'll trim it out, stuff to fit around it, so we can make a hole so we can hit the top of the frame, weld it to the frame, and then make a trim piece to fill in around that. Yep. You might be able to do a 6x6 plate down here for that to hit, or maybe smaller, I don't know. But this floor pan is made like, it's got all these ribs in it. That just makes things hard. Easier to just cut it out, hit the top of the frame, because the top of the frame is going to be right here. Frame is about 2 inches wide, actually. Top of the frame rail, it's a little over 2.5, something like that. So that should give me plenty of room for those tubes to come down, hit, and weld around them, and put a plate in, filler panel. All right, that's going to do it for this episode of 30 Minute Mechanic. We got our main hoop position figured out, marked, got some holes cut in our floor pan so we can start building our kickers when our metal gets here. Man, I'm excited about this. I love working on it just a little bit at a time. That way I can think about things and then come back and apply what I've thought about and decided, or maybe, change my mind about something. So anyways, as always, like, subscribe, ring the bell, tell your friends. We'll see you next time. Bye.